Hello and welcome to Emergent Soul Conversations, the podcast promoting self-love and awareness with the hopes of developing sisterhood and community. We will be discussing concepts that pull on the hearts of today's woman. I'm your host, Karen Elaine, and I will share my life experiences along with inviting others to sit down with me who inspire me and also have a willingness to share their soul's journey. This podcast will give us meaningful and intimate conversations that'll help us create a life by design and not default. If this is your first time listening in, I thank you. Now on till today's episode. Paul Tournier once said that acceptance of one's life has nothing to do with resignation. It does not mean running away from struggle. On the contrary, it means accepting as it comes with all of the handicaps of heredity, of suffering, of psychological complexes, and injustices. Today, I wanted to ask you, or let's talk about why accepting ourselves is so challenging. We're hard on ourselves. I know I have been. And many of us are more understanding and forgiving of others than we are of ourselves. And it really doesn't make any sense. I am very much for being our own advocate, but it's difficult sometimes. But I ask you to consider, if anyone is going to be on your side, shouldn't it be you? We put too much faith and value in what other people think versus what we think. And this year, the time is now to move away from that. If you don't think it's true, here are some things to consider if you're being too hard on yourself. You dwell on your mistakes. You just can't let it go. And this doesn't accomplish anything. All it does is bring on more negativity. We really should avoid doing this and realize that we're human beings and we all make mistakes. Dwelling on those mistakes make us feel more incapable and more miserable in general. Number 2, do you compare yourself to others? I mean, think about it. There's always going to be someone who has more money, who's better looking, who's more talented, who's luckier, or whose children do better in school or treat them better. Comparing ourselves to other people is dangerous, and it's on a playground that we just can't win. You're also more likely to compare yourself to people who are exceptional. I mean, think about it. Do you compare yourself to someone who is middle-aged or does worse than you? Of course not. You compare yourself to that person who might be 10 or 15 years younger than us, who has they probably haven't even had kids yet, so their bodies might be more in shape than ourselves. We're not even realistic when we're doing the comparison. I want to ask you, do you give your own ideas a fair chance? How many great ideas have you had, but you ultimately dismissed them and didn't take action because you just didn't think they were good enough? Or I ask you, do you spend too much time thinking about your past failures? I know I've been guilty of that one. Maybe you didn't get that dream job. Maybe you didn't get the house that you wanted to have or the vacation. If you experience or focus on negative experiences, you're falling and failing to accept yourself and your current reality. Here's another one. Can you take a compliment? There are things that are great about you, and when you're acknowledged about it, can you accept that compliment, or do you just push it aside and don't accept it of yourself? Or you're just being unrealistic. You're ultimately being hard on yourself, and we don't deserve this. It's not easy to accept yourself all of the times. Our parents taught us, or other people's taught us, the ideal person is financially successful, they're attractive, they're athletic, they're creative, and they're the life of the party. And to be honest, most of us are never going to check off all of those boxes and have those things. There are many signs that you're not being of accepting of yourself as you could be. But Now that you're aware, what are you going to do and how are you going to accept yourself? Jeff Koons said, "For me, art really starts with acceptance, self-trust. Whenever you come to with art, it's perfect. You don't have to come with anything. What you bring to something is the art. That's where it's found, and it's found within you." I just want to give you some tips today so you can start accepting yourself. Let go of your mistakes and failures. The time is now. Decide how you can avoid making the same mistakes in the future and then move on. Number 2, only compare yourself to yourself. Only compete with yourself. Comparing yourself to someone else is like comparing a tree to a loaf of bread. There's no comparison. If you're doing better than you did the day before, then you have every right to be excited and acknowledge it. 3, separate yourself from your emotions. Our emotions separate us from ourselves. There might be something that you're experiencing or observing, but just observe it. Don't allow your emotions to take control over you. Don't allow your emotions to control you. I want you to be aware of what makes you unique and embrace it. And think about it. It's our uniqueness that provides the value that we give to the world. Let go of things you can't change or control. You're not accepting your life or limitations if you're worrying about things that you can't influence. Stop and ask yourself, is there anything that I can do about this? If the answer is no, then there's no reason to dwell on it. I invite you to do something that you've always wanted to do. Stop denying your impulses. When you deny yourself the happy and healthy influences and impulses, you're not being accepting of yourself. Be more assertive. And this is one that I need to do. Be more assertive. Let people know what you think. Give your voice and your opinions and allow your voice to be heard. Do the things that you want. Assertiveness is a form of honesty. It's about you and what you desire. Recognize your thoughts and your feelings. Stand in front of the mirror and take a good look at yourself. Acknowledge that you do judge yourself and let it go. Turn off the noise and turn off the distractions and notice what happens. Continue evolving. If you can't move forward toward anything positive in that time and moment, be honest with yourself about what you like and dislike and allow your life to evolve. Treat each day as a new opportunity to practice self-acceptance. It's something that you must choose if you want to experience it firsthand. Remember, developing habits that lead towards self-acceptance will allow you to stop judging yourself so harshly. It's time to free yourself and your emotions. It's time for change. Think of happiness and know that it only comes from self-acceptance. We all try to be different and do different things. We try to get comfortable in order to find out a sense of who we are. The time is now to just stop, learn, grow, move on, and ultimately change. Because what happens to you does not define who you are. My Emergent Soul. Thank you for listening to this episode of Emergent Soul Conversations. Join me next time to gain more insights on how to live a life by design and not default. If this was your first time tuning into the show, please make sure and hit the subscribe button below and follow me on Instagram at Emergent Soul. Remember, What happens to you does not define you. Your emergent soul.